I was born in Sunnyside, Washington, and my mom and dad were from Mexico. My dad was from Pino, Zacatecas, and my mom was from Piedras Negras, Coahuila. And they lived in a very rural area, and my mom was raised in a steel mill type of area, and my dad, he was a coal miner, and my dad was working in the coal mines for many years and decided to create a union. Well, that was a very difficult thing to organize. So what happened is, from what my mom told me, is that they were after him, and they didn't want him to create this union. And so they were pretty much out to kill him. And that my grandmother was able to hide him in the home. And apparently she hid him so well that they didn't know that he was even there. So they, after that, my dad fled Mexico and came to the United States, and did some farm work. And so he moved to Texas area and did some work there. My mom, she was pretty much a young person trying to go to the United States to get a better life, I'm assuming, and maybe find work. So she also went to Texas. And there they met families that were coming up to the Northwest. So this family that they met happened to be a family with a large family. So they came up to the Northwest and came to Washington. Everybody was going to the Northwest to look for work. So both of my parents, single, they didn't know each other, came to Groupport, Washington, and they ended up getting married in Groupport. And the couple that had asked them to come up to Washington ended up becoming the sponsors. So they ended up finding a place to stay in Groupport, and it was a small cabin, cabinas. And I remember growing up living in those little cabins with brothers and sisters that were, there was a small place, and sometimes we'd go to the community laundry room, and we would wash clothes there with wringer washers, and then you bring them back to the tendederos, and we would hang them on the back of the cabins, and they usually have a clothesline set up, and the clothes would dry there. And so the other things is that we as kids would run around the cabins and chase each other, and for us there was no thought of the difficult times that our parents had in the agriculture work, because that's all they did when they came to Washington State. And as the family grew, we helped our parents in the fields, and the fields were it was hot out there. We'd pick vegetables, we'd do fruit, we'd pick fruit. We'd go from Yakima Valley to Skagit Valley, and we didn't think it was a hard job since we were little. We just kind of helped the family, the parents, with, if it was strawberries, we just helped them with picking a basket of strawberries and we take it to them, and then we run back and we would have fun as kids. But we never thought that the job was hard for our parents, finding a job for them to continue supporting the family. They would travel from areas to Burlington, Mount Vernon, and it was difficult work. We were lucky that my dad was able to find work in all kinds of jobs for us, but as we got older and the jobs became more difficult for him, we were pretty much the only ones who could help him out. And so as time went by, we just as a family felt that if one of us could just help them all the time, it would be such a great asset to them. But as we got older, we realized that the field work was really hard, and we really didn't want to continue doing that. There were times when we would be so tired as we were trying to do the labor work, such as cutting asparagus, or doing the working in the grapes, that sometimes my parents would say, okay, you can stay home. But there was always the emphasis of we were always to go to school. We were never one to skip school, and my parents always would take us back home so that we could get ready to go to school. And it's interesting is that during those times that we were going to school, we never missed a day. We never skipped school. We were always, my dad always felt that education was an important part of our establishing ourselves and becoming adults with an education. And one thing he always emphasized is that don't forget your language. Get a good education and don't forget your language. And that was instilled in me and all my brothers and sisters. I have four sisters and two brothers, and they are bilingual, and I'm very proud of that. But the best part of all this is that we were a very close family, and we really enjoyed enjoyed the fact that we could help our parents at that time during the harvest season. But during the winter times it was difficult, and even though jobs are limited, my dad was always out there looking for employment, and I never knew that what it was to be without, with as much as he could afford to help us. I never felt that I was losing out on anything. Very proud. My dad was very proud, and my mom was very supportive, and so those transitioning from that to getting an education was so important that I needed to make sure that when I was offered that opportunity to go to college, I felt that it was a really important decision to make. The person that came to our house to tell us if we were interested, or asked us if we were interested in going to college, was an EOP recruiter. I never in my wildest dream thought that I would ever have that opportunity. I thought I was going to be living in Sunnyside, Washington, and find a job there, and then just stay. I never knew anything about what was outside of Sunnyside or the Yakima Valley. We didn't we didn't travel a lot. We didn't do vacations. It was difficult, and so when I was offered to go to school, my first thought was, underneath my breath, I really want to say yes, I do want, but I had to first have that recruiter say it, and my dad would. I had to translate to my dad and my mom, and they understood that I was really, really looking forward to that, and then they said, do you want to go? ¿Quieres ir al colegio? And I said, of course, and I was so happy for that because I knew that my parents, through their hard work, were now giving me the opportunity to make my decision to go to college. And being the oldest, it was a responsibility that I needed to follow up. So accepting it and making sure that they would be proud of me from making sure that my decision to be a good student and make them proud was important to me as it would be important to them.